The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.
Welcome to How to Money with Kole and Cole.
I'm Kole.
And I'm Cole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation on investing, retirement, and everything in between.
At Full Swing Financial Planning, we're here to empower you to take control of your plan, your way, for your financial future.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Kole and Cole. I'm your host, Baileigh Ashbrook. Special guest, my old roommate, Nate Moeller. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
He's got some stories to tell, I've heard.
Yeah, we'll keep those ones. This is all about him today, guys.
Okay,
We'll focus
right.
on Moeller first. But before we get into Nate's story, your Cubs.
Yeah, we're now not as far tape delayed, so we can talk a little sports because Cubs are in first place. It's been a good ride. They started the season 0-2. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't, because I'm very bad at following baseball, but I get all my juice from Cole because he goes to the games.
Yeah, they played in Tokyo to start the season against the Dodgers. I don't know
I'm a little baseball fan, but yeah.
Okay. And they started 0-2, and now they're 29-20, something like that, 28-20. First place in the division, up by a game or two over the Cardinals, and looking to make a playoff run.
Such a silly question. When does baseball season end? Like, it's a long...
Yeah, the playoffs start October 1st. Ooh. Yeah.
It's long.
Yeah.
You want to hear
basically April 1st through the end of September.
This is my favorite baseball story. When this is called Little Leagues in Fort Dodge, and Nate Moeller was on my team back in the day. And I will never forget this. I'm dead serious. And I think it was T-ball. I don't know. It was at the old fields. Anyways, Nate hit it. He ran to first. He ran all the way to third, but his hat fell off. I don't know if you remember that.
I think you've told me that.
Yes, and his hat fell off. And instead of like just staying on third and someone and bringing his hat, because Nate's really fast, he ran all the way back to second, all the way back to first, grabbed his hat, went back to second, and went back to third by the time the ball got in.
Before they tagged him out.
No, he was safe. He stayed safe at third, but like before, it was just cute. But to be little.
Must have been a speedy little dude.
He
fast,
was.
yeah.
He was.
Not anymore, but
Nice.
Now we're old, got to warm up.
yeah.
Your Fever started the season strong.
Yeah, they're looking. I mean, they got a bench. They did some new coach. They are looking real good. Triple double to start the season, not bad. They won by like
Clark,
40 plus.
But I think Bonner being added to that team is amazing. She's a great player. So I'm third all-time
scorer. Yeah, she broke that record the last game. Yeah, that's a lot of money pouring into those games. It's gonna be a great WNBA season if you watch it. I watch it, obviously. So yeah.
Yeah, and I heard you might have placed a little bet on Scotty Scheffler to win the PGA.
Scotty Scheffler, every time he plays, I think I bet on him. He's the new Tiger Woods, so yeah.
It's not what he win like 9 out of 18
Even
last year. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
3 or 4 strokes into Saturday, he's got the best odds. So yeah.
Safe bet. Not like Dave Portnoy betted that Caitlin Clark would get a triple double, put 25,000 down, got 350,000.
Yeah, but that is a long shot bet.
Yeah.
I mean, I know she gets triple doubles a lot.
For the first game of the season.
But I think she only has 4 in her career.
Yeah, so they were up 40 and she went out with 5 minutes left, but she was like, I want to get Bonner the record, put me back in. I was like, oh, she's going to chase, because she only needed one more rebound. So she had to chase it down. He was pumped. He's like, put her in.
Put her in.
She should have stayed out.
That's awesome.
All right, so we are here. Let's pivot to Nate Moeller. He's the 4th generational owner of Moeller Furnace in town, Fort Dodge, Iowa, a family-run HVAC company, and it was founded in 1912. Let's just start there, because we were talking off air, like, what are the chances of a family-owned business getting to the 4th generation? And it's slim to none.
Give us the stats.
Okay. According to a Harvard Business Review, only about 30% of family-owned business survive into the 2nd generation, 12% into the 3rd generation, and just 3% into the 4th generation. And here you sit.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky that, my dad, my grandpa, they all built a good foundation, and I'm lucky to take over.
And I was talking to you earlier, and I was like, I was trying to figure it out. So that's your great grandpa. And I was thinking, I don't even know my great grandpa's name, let alone.
I know mine, but I only met him I don't remember meeting him.
I never met either of them. Did you meet your great grandpa?
No, I didn't meet my great grandpa. No, but just doing research before coming back here, and I've kind of brushed up on our history, because it is a long time ago. So
when you say it out loud, it's like, what were they doing in 1912?
Yeah, it was before air conditioners were a thing, even gas heat. It was coal stokers, basically. We did a lot of sheet metal work, so we've evolved throughout the years. This thing is kind of adapted into, standard air conditioners, standard forced air heat.
The Cubs were 4 years removed from their second World Series, and then they didn't win another one until 2016. So
way to date that.
The whole time the company had been alive up to 2016.
And
the
just
Cubs
everything that has gone on in the world, wars, recessions, how we've gone and evolved through all that is pretty amazing.
So growing up, did your grandfather own it at that time, or was your father already the owner?
My dad was the owner my whole life. So
okay.
I think it was in between 40 or 50 years he was the owner.
Great guy.
Yep.
Freddie Steady.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's still around.
Yeah, he's still here. He's a great guy.
Yep.
So I know this. So you were when we have entrepreneurs on, it's like, we talk financials, we talk all those things. It's like going from a guaranteed job, or like you talk about that, how you made that transition. I know you always kind of wanted to take over the family business. It's a big responsibility, obviously. And you were working, and you said you had like 10 bosses before for a company. Talk about that transition going from working for someone and now going into the family business.
Yeah, I mean, the previous job, I was in construction sales, so working big commercial jobs, and I had about 10 bosses doing sales, and I thought I worked hard in my previous job, but this is just a whole nother level, so, any entrepreneur can kind of get that. It's kind of always on your mind. There's always something that needs to be done, so that was probably the biggest transition, and it took, I didn't come back and own the business right away. I kind of watched my dad for about a year or so until he kind of fully gave me the reins, so it was a learning curve, but
was there a turning point when you knew, like, okay, I'm coming home, I'm gonna do this?
It was always the plan. I didn't want to just go out of college and come and run the business. I kind of wanted to do my own thing, proved myself that I could kind of make it. So, moved to Iowa City, moved to Des Moines, got a account manager role for a construction supply company, and did that for I think 4 or 5 years, and finally, I think it was right before COVID, where there was kind of some uncertainty in the commercial construction world. It ended up not really impacting it too much, but, that was kind of the factor that drove me, back here.
I thought you said something earlier, like you didn't know what it was like to work hard until you became an entrepreneur. I had a buddy of mine one time, like, say, well, I want to work. I think I'm going to start my own business so I can work, have a schedule like yours where I can, work whenever I want. And I'm just like, yeah, you work whenever you want, but you also work when you don't want, and you're always working. So talk a little bit about that.
With everything we have going on, how we're evolving and growing, it's the last month or two, especially with our new building that we'll talk about in a little bit. It's been 60, 70 hour weeks. I couldn't even count how many hours I put in,
and you don't typically as an, you just work when you have to work, and you don't work when you don't have to work.
And there's always things that need to be done, especially, having an older business, kind of growing into some new standard operating procedures and different things we're adding. There's always something to do. So
I heard this on a podcast once. When you're your own boss, you're harder on no one else when you're your own boss. Like no boss is going to be harder on yourself than yourself as your boss. So I always think that's very interesting. So you have made like a lot of updates to Moeller Furnace. Tell us, because you stepped in, we were talking about this a little too off mic. You stepped into the 4th generation business. You could have just kept turnkey, do what they're doing. They're very successful, but you have made a lot of updates. Tell us about your updates. You're building out in the Decker development, all the things.
Well, yeah. The move was something I thought of right away. I knew it needed to be done just for longevity of the business. We kind of ran out of space. We were always, booked out months and months. So we needed more room to, grow and evolve. But other than that, it's, my dad did a really good job building the foundation. There was just, some, new age type of technology that I've kind of implemented with softwares and standard operating procedures and different things like that. The website that we have, the marketing efforts that we do, it's all kind of encompassing, but all that has been over the last 3 or 4 years, kind of setting us up for this move that we can kind of launch from there.
So you got the new building going up out in, what would that be? East side of Fort Dodge, southeast side of Fort Dodge.
Looks great.
Looks great.
Thank you.
And when do you move into the building, and what are you most looking forward to into the new building?
So we're in the process of kind of moving some things. I think over this weekend we have a lot of racking to put up. That's something I'll be doing over the weekend. But I think the move itself, it'll be kind of a longer process. We'll be functioning out of there hopefully within the next 3 weeks, and then we'll just kind of slowly move things from the old building. And there's so much in there that some of it may not make the move. So, we're going to kind of bring what's necessary. And
the building's original. I can't imagine what you guys got in there. So how are you kind of balancing the old school trust that obviously you keep saying your dad has built the foundation on that with the modern visibility, the new building, the new website, which it all looks phenomenal. Like, is your dad like, wow, this is a lot going on?
Yeah, he was skeptical at first.
Change.
Yeah, any change is kind of scary to some people. And I think just the move in my mind was necessary. He's definitely on board. He's excited about it all. Keeping the trust of our customers. We are a service-based industry, so we rely on all the people in the community. So, we do things the same. We just have some more internal processes that make kind of the overall customer experiences easier, along the way. So, and
it's probably good for your employees, like a few more updated systems. I mean, technology itself, we talk about all the time, is updated. I can't imagine in your world too, and processes.
Yeah.
Take us back to 1912. Tell us a little story here.
It's wild to think about. We have an old picture in our office that we'll bring. Our new offices, our new location, we'll have a little history section. So we're going to bring a lot of our old things. But there's a picture in front of our building, our current building, where there's horse and carriages. It looks like a whole different world. So thinking back to then, so many things have changed, and it's pretty amazing we're still around.
And you said your great-grandfather started the business with someone else. It wasn't called Moeller Furnace to start out.
It was, I think, Darlene and Moeller. So it was kind of a business partnership. I think pretty soon after my great-grandpa bought full ownership of the business, they were doing a lot of, commercial work. There was a boom in Fort Dodge at one point, downtown especially, everything. So we did a lot of the work down there. We did a lot of sheet metal work. I think we even did gutters at some point. But even during there's actually a point where we were deemed an essential business during I think it was World War II, where we were sponsored by the government to build boxes to ship supplies to soldiers, like care packages. So that was a couple of years, I think, there that we did that. So
that's wild and crazy. Yeah.
What does it mean to you personally to be a part of something with that kind of history? Because not a lot of people can, one, just say they generational business, as I said in the beginning, but two, that kind of history.
Yeah, it's a wild stat to think of. We've been around since 1912. It's pretty crazy. I feel pretty honored to do it. I've been in the business my whole life. I grew up in this shop. We currently are, so it's always been part of me. And I'm just trying to keep it going and
no
keep
pressure,
it going for another 100 years. That's the goal.
So you focus on heating and cooling now. It's the business, from what I'm hearing, has evolved over the years. You've it didn't start obviously with air conditioners, because in 1912 there weren't any air conditioners. But you're commercial and residential heating and cooling now. Tell us a little bit about that business and what your primary customers are.
Yeah, I mean, most of the business that we do is residential. Probably I'd say 70% of what we do. So I'm still in the sales role. Anytime there's an estimate needed, you'll see me. So I meet a lot of people out in the community. Other than that, the new construction, any new homes, multifamily homes, commercial clients, we have contracts with a lot of businesses around town. We're pretty much an all-service heating and cooling company, and as we grow, we'll be able to add more services, extend the existing services, and just continue to evolve.
So when it's negative 20 out and my furnace quits working,
Does
call
that happen
Moeller
in
Furnace.
Iowa?
Yeah, that's this last week was the first heat wave, and I think I would say probably 50 to 60 estimates for replacements, and we're booked out
on air conditioners
months already, and it's always the seasonal business we're in. So
when you turn on the air, and then also probably in the fall when you turn off the air and you turn on the heat, it's probably your busiest time.
Yeah, we have service techs that are on call 24/7, so they switch and rotate call schedules, and we're always available.
How many employees do you have now?
We have 9 employees right now.
So I know we talked a little bit about this. What are the goals for Moeller Furnace? You've got a lot going on, a new building. Some I know you don't want to talk about, but like growth, team expansion, services. Have you thought about that? Or are you just trying to get through the building?
No, I have a business plan. It's kind of, I don't know, first thing I kind of did was where do I want to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now? So we're going to kind of like I just touched on, expand our current services. We're always in demand. We're always booked out months. So we need to be able to get to people sooner. Specifically on the replacement side, and as we grow our commercial side, there's infinite amount of possibilities there. So yeah, we need to add to our team. There's job openings that we've hired a few over the last years. We kind of maxed our space out right now. That's part of the move as well. But add the services, add to employees, and it's kind of just I'm trying to build the business to where internal employees can move up in jobs, get new opportunities, kind of grow within the company and go from there.
Was that a hard shift going from 10 bosses to being the boss of everyone and everyone depending on you? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I feel a lot of pride for that too. I know that families rely on me.
Yeah, you impact people's lives.
Yeah, so doing my job and making sure that we're busy and that we have job opportunities and, I can keep people on staff and, I don't think we've ever laid anybody off for downtime or anything like that. So I'm pretty prideful in that as well.
I was going to say to fourth generation, not only are you guys establishing yourself as great, loyal people to your customers, you must also establish yourself as good employees to have people that are dedicated to you guys long term.
Yeah, I try to provide as many opportunities for, continuing education. As we've grown, we don't just hire anyone. We do have high standards because our reputation is, important in the city. So
especially in the service world.
Yeah. So we want to hire reliable people who are dedicated and hardworking themselves. And then we give them all the opportunities to grow into their own, field that they want. So
this podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
Let's do a little dollars and cents.
Dollar bills, y'all. So Kole Jaskie's not here.
Our nerd stat's gone.
Yeah, we've decided when we have guests that two people in here is enough, and because we all
the guys
talk
get
too
hot.
much. Yeah, we get hot. So I'm going to do the stat nerd, and we're going to keep it pretty short. But it's basically we've seen a rocky market this year, correct?
Just a little bit.
Little bit. We've went. We were at our highest point. Down to, I think the biggest drawdown was about 20% down. And now we're almost back to even for the year, actually up a little bit as of yesterday. It's down a little bit today. So a couple of things about that. 7 of the 10 best days occurred within 2 weeks of the 10 worst days last year.
What does that tell people, Kole?
So what that means is, a lot of times there's a bad day and then there's a good day and then there's a bad day and there's a good day. So that's a volatile market, right? Where it goes up and down a lot. It typically doesn't just go down, and then keep down. And
we always
stay
tell
even.
people will have more problems than your account if the market stays down forever.
Right. It's proven over the last 100 years, like Moeller Furnace, that you will see a return at some point if you stay in the market. So the whole point of this is you want to be in the market. Time in the market is better than timing the market. You don't want to try to time the market, pick the best, worst days. You don't need to do that.
Your returns are always going to be better if you just keep it in the market and get it in there when you can.
Right. So 6 of the 7 best days occurred after the worst days of the year in 2024. And the second worst day of 2020, which we all know was COVID, March 12th, was immediately followed by the best day of 2020. So you shouldn't try to, if you're going to day trade, totally different. That's that should be like, that's people's jobs to day trade. But if you're just a common investor, that
long-term goals,
have long-term goals, just stick it out. Just stick it out.
Because we have people, when the market goes down, they're like, I'm panicking. Should I move it out? And what Kole's saying, if you move it out on the worst day, the best days are to follow, right? The best days are coming shortly after. You're going to miss the coming back up. And that's the problem. And that's why good investors who stay in the market have the long-term, long returns.
And I've heard people also say to me, like, well, what if it doesn't come back? Okay, well, history repeats itself, and it's always come back. Mm-hmm. Yes, in 2000, 2001, 2002, during the tech bubble, it was down for 3 years. Mm-hmm. But it didn't stay down for 25 years. It stayed down for 3 years, and then it had a great run. So it's just a proven thing. The market's more proven than everything except Moeller Furnace.
Let's get back to Moeller Furnace.
All right. Let's get back to it. Nate, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So you grew up watching your father own the business your whole life, correct? Mm-hmm. Your grandfather, it had already transitioned by the time you can remember.
Yep.
So what values, like work ethics, what did you see while you were growing up that you're trying to do yourself as well while you're the owner?
The work ethic is the big one. So that's something that I've always kind of had instilled into me, but also working with our customers. So we're a service-based industry. We talk with customers every day. We need to be able to remember their names, remember our experiences, create communications with them, and kind of build on those relationships and just, kind of build on that.
Yeah, personal relationships are any service
business. I was just going to say our business too.
I'm always going to be more apt to call a person back if they know me.
Or if they care and they give good service.
Yeah, doing right by the customer is our number one thing we work for. So it's kind of what I've been working towards with the company, implementing all these different operating procedures, all this software. Mm-hmm. It just kind of overall extends the customer experience, makes it easy to work with us, and you can rely on us.
Yeah, we're big on our process too, because when you have a process, then the customer gets the same customer service, and you have
quick turnarounds and all that.
So if you know Nate's dad, I can obviously see the work ethic and the customers first. Your dad is just such a good person, but something that's probably a little different from what your dad did and you are really doing is rebranding. I've seen the website rebrand, the logo rebranded. Yeah. Why is that important to you in today's world? Because I think we talk about that a lot in the topic of entrepreneurs, marketing, and having a website. Mm-hmm. And how's that balancing that or changing that?
Yeah, we've never really had a physical logo. So we've had our name, and that's kind of been our image. But branding is kind of something I went to school for and did some marketing in college. So it's important to have a brand. And as you grow and evolve, you want that brand to kind of be synopsis with your name, even if you just see the physical logo. So it's all encompassing: the website, the branding, the marketing, the print material, the van wraps. It's all kind of.
Are you noticing more traction, you think, from the online?
Yeah, especially our website. I remember I created a free website for my dad when I was in college, just a little Wix website, and finally got a full-on website, and we get leads every day from that. So.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm guessing Spin Market, had something to do with that, but it looks phenomenal. I was looking it up the other day. And then another thing I saw that maybe is a little different is that you guys did something really cool. I saw this on your social media, which seems a lot more active. And I think that's just probably a generational shift is the marketing and online. You guys did it's called the heart behind the business. You guys did a giveaway. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah.
And I just think it's important to always focus on what businesses are doing for the community.
Yeah, the Heat for the Holidays giveaway is something I kind of thought about for years, and it was a good time to do it this last year. We've always given back to the community. This is just our first kind of public, it's a reoccurring thing that we're going to be doing, and we'll evolve it as we go. But my dad's done giveaways in the past. He's donated to schools, churches, but this is something that, again, we rely on the community. We're a service-based industry, so I think it's our duty to give back. And it's an easy way, especially around the holidays, we basically take nominations for people in need of a new furnace, heating system. So we look through all those nominations, pick a winner each year, and
gave a family in need a furnace and installed it. That's so cool.
What was that like and I think there was a Sanchez family, correct, that received it this year. What was it like to show up and say, hey, we're putting in a new furnace? I mean, was it just...
They're not cheap.
It's a big cost, but there was a lot of nominations. It was really hard to choose. It took my wife and I spent a whole weekend. I felt like just going through the nominations, reading the stories.
Was it a little emotional?
Yeah, it was a very tough. We narrowed it down to 3, and we still couldn't decide after the whole weekend. So it took, we finally decided, and yeah, the Sanchez family was ecstatic. They were really excited. They were really in need of it, and it helped them out. So we felt good. Yeah,
if you've never been in Iowa without a furnace, a good, strong working furnace, it gets a little chilly.
Yeah, your house can get cold real fast.
And like we always say, no AC is very uncomfortable, but you can live. Your pipes won't freeze, and you won't have more issues. So heat's important.
Yeah, I thought that was so cool to just, especially like it also really brings a community together because now you have people nominating other people and it brings the whole thing together. So I just thought I really wanted to talk about that giving back segment.
Yeah. What do you like most about being not necessarily the boss, but being the entrepreneur and being able
the leader.
The leader of the company? I guess we've talked about kind of, what can be the everyday struggles, the employee, and trying to keep the employee. What do you like most about it?
I enjoy building the business and all the employees inside of it. So I've been the owner for about 5 years now. I think 5 years in July, and just seeing
where's time gone?
Has it been that long? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every employee has grown throughout that time and had new challenges that they've overcome and grown in their career, and then just growing the business itself and everything we've done with the new building and the things we've implemented. It's exciting to see it kind of evolve.
Is there any lessons from your experience that you would give someone that is maybe thinking about joining or taking over the family business? Because I do think it's great. Like generationally, your family must really like each other because a lot of families, I'm serious, there's a lot of tension when it comes to family business. Is there any advice you would give to someone?
I mean, our transition was really easy. And my dad's still involved, and it's a great relationship, but in the case where I would say set standards, roles, kind of have clear guidelines on who's responsible for what, and then have a good business plan and kind of dial in where you want to go with the business and have a clear, sight of where you want to be.
I can tell you that just from my experience working with business owners, I think that's why a lot of them doesn't work because it's not clear. I just had a friend that his father thought he was going to buy the business. He had no interest. They had never talked about it. It's like
he just assumed.
You also got to have the conversation. I'm sure your father and you started this conversation maybe when you were in high school. I guess you can tell us that.
Yeah, it was always a plan of mine. It kind of blindsided my dad when I actually asked him to do it and come back and run the business, but. It was a relationship where the first, I think, year I was just kind of shadowing my dad, doing, odds and ends, kind of learning how the internal business operates. And then, finally kind of took over that role after a year.
Did you find a new respect or a new sense of watching him for a year? Like, you always know what your dad does, but it's another thing to like shadow what he's doing.
Yeah. The amount that he was doing, I've delegated some tasks since then, but he was doing a lot. He had a lot of roles, wore a lot of hats, and I can definitely have a newfound respect for what he was doing.
You're like, my dad is a boss and he's a great leader. So yeah, that's awesome. I think, and we talk about this with financial plans too, you got to have a plan. And just the way you're talking, repeat yourself. The first thing you did, I sat down and said, here's where I want to go. And again, I think you could have came into Moeller Furnace. It's obviously successful, but you're ready to evolve it and take it to another level and keep that generational trend going, or even just keep the success of that going. Is there anything that makes you nervous about the future, or do you just think I'm going to keep grinding it out?
Yeah, I think we're an essential business. I don't see us slowing down. I think it's going to get to a point where we're going to have some more management roles, which kind of gives me, back to where our employees will have more opportunities to grow inside the business. There's so much more work out there that we don't even go after right now. So having the space, a new building to do that, it's going to be exciting to just kind of...
You're hungry for more, aren't you?
I'll kind of be able to grow the business in a new way that I haven't been able to yet. So
part of the business plan is to grow obviously you always want to grow, but it's more to grow exponentially, not kind of just stay as a small business, but to grow that business from 9 employees to... 20 or something like that.
I think the next move would probably be a different market to just expand our area that we cover. But in service industry businesses, you kind of hit a plateau with the revenue that you're generating with more management positions. So, there's a lot that goes into it, but there's a key point where I want to get to, and then I kind of want to expand a little bit and offer more area here.
And then lastly, I want to say this because you've said this a few times, is you keep saying, I want to internally promote people. And I think we've talked about this, getting the right people around you and this, and you know this as being a business owner, getting the right people you can trust and also elevate them, that's kind of how you get to that next step. It's really hard to bring people from the outside that are new to grow and develop. Yeah,
I know all the guys' strengths and weaknesses and where they excel. So, being able to put them in a position where they can grow in the right role is important. So
anything else upcoming, like community projects, anything like that you're working on that you want to share?
I probably won't share them. I'll put that out when the time's right, but we've got some nonprofits that we're going to partner with. We've got some more charities that we're going to be doing. So there's a lot that's going to be happening this year, but stay tuned.
Tell us where to follow Moeller Furnace at.
Yeah, our website's MoellerHVAC.com, Moeller Furnace on Facebook, social media,
Check out the website because it looks great. Nate, we appreciate your time so much. I personally have known you for a while. I know your future is so bright, and I think it's very insightful for listeners to know generational businesses don't happen often, but even cooler to listen to someone who's taking it to another level.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for being on. It's been awesome to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you.
In honor of Nate's favorite athlete, it's not so much what one person does, it's what we do as a team. Ken Griffey Jr.
Go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Kole and Kole, the podcast of Full Swing Financial Planning. To learn more, visit their website at www.fullswingfinancial.com and follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn.
For now, I'm Kole.
I'm Baileigh.
And I'm Kole.
And we'll see you on the greens. 4!
Security and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.